The story the industry has spent nearly 3 decades burying just detonated in real time, and the blast is sending shockwaves through every corner of Hollywood and hip-hop history. Tonight, the unthinkable has happened. Newly unsealed documents and insider testimony have ignited the most explosive scandal the world has ever seen. And the names emerging from the smoke are bigger, darker, and more terrifying than anyone dared imagine. For the first time ever, Snoop Dogg and Diddy are being publicly named as potential suspects tied to the murder case of Tupac Shakur. And the evidence being whispered behind closed doors is so radioactive, so career-ending, so reality-shattering that even veteran detectives are refusing to comment on camera. The internet is convulsing under the weight of this revelation. Fans are screaming betrayal, and reporters are swarming airport terminals. Lawyers are scrambling into emergency meetings as anonymous insiders warn that the leaks are just the beginning of a truth that could collapse multi-million-dollar legacies overnight. And the real bomb? A sealed witness statement that insiders claim was never meant to see daylight. A statement that names names, details secret meetings, and points to a betrayal so twisted it's already rewriting the entire narrative of what really happened the night Tupac was taken down. But what's hidden in this testimony? Who leaked it? And why are powerful industry giants moving faster than ever to shut the story down? Stay locked in, because everything you thought you knew is about to be destroyed. The moment the documents hit the internet, the world didn't just react, it imploded. And the leak came from a single anonymous account that disappeared within seconds, but not before millions screenshotted the files, dissected every line, and ignited the most violent digital wildfire pop culture has ever seen. People thought they had heard every theory imaginable about Tupac's murder, every rumor, every whisper, every coded diss track and backstage confession, but nobody, not even the die-hard conspiracy hunters who dedicated their lives to solving the case, expected the 2 names that appeared under the bolded section titled Persons of Interest. Names tied not just to hip-hop royalty, but to global empire building, billion-dollar legacies, and decades of carefully curated public innocence. Snoop Dogg and Diddy. That's when the internet lost its mind. Comment sections turned into battlegrounds. Fans in total disbelief clashed with those claiming they'd known for years. Hashtags erupted, old interviews resurfaced, and the louder the chaos grew, the more silent the accused became. A silence that only poured gasoline on the flames. Suddenly, clips from the 90s were circulating again. Grainy backstage footage, side-eye glances at award shows, tense studio sessions, and interviews where Tupac hinted he knew more than he was allowed to say. People began stitching together timelines, matching lyrics to events, connecting dots that had always seemed too dangerous to look at directly. But the real detonation came when leaked text messages, supposedly from inside an active investigation, appeared on a private forum. The messages were short, panicked, and clearly never meant to reach the public. The names are confirmed. Expect major pushback. They're already calling in favors. And the final chilling line, they don't want this out. Not now. Not ever. Within minutes, screenshots flooded every platform. People demanded answers. Journalists scrambled for confirmation. But the silence from the industry was deafening. The kind of terrified hush that only happens when the truth threatens people with too much power, too much influence, too much to lose. And that silence fueled a new wave of theories. Darker, sharper, more detailed than ever before. Because in the files, investigators referenced a mysterious meeting in the weeks leading up to Tupac's death. A meeting allegedly attended by multiple major figures, including Snoop and Diddy, where tensions reached a boiling point. The documents hinted at betrayal, at hidden rivalries, at business deals gone wrong. One note even referenced conflicting loyalties and prior arrangements, though no one knew what those arrangements were. But fans didn't wait for clarification. They began digging. Within hours, an anonymous whistleblower posted an audio recording they claimed was from an ex-bodyguard who worked closely with all 3 men. The voice was distorted, but the fear in it was unmistakable. "You think Pac was paranoid?" "Nah," the voice said. "He saw the moves being made. He knew who was playing both sides. He knew who was smiling in his face while planning his downfall." The voice paused. Then in a trembling whisper, one of them even tried to warn him, too late. That single line sent social media into complete chaos. People reanalyzed every photo of Tupac and Snoop together. searching for tension or hidden messages. They dove into old interviews with Diddy, pulling apart every sentence, every micro-expression, every awkward pause. But as the public hunted for answers, something even more explosive leaked. A former investigator, someone who had worked the case but vanished from the public eye years ago, suddenly resurfaced in a shaky late-night video that spread faster than any official statement could. In the dim light, they looked exhausted, haunted, as if they had been carrying a secret too heavy for too long. "You're only seeing the surface," they said. "Those names aren't the only ones in those files. There are others, bigger, but Snoop and Diddy were always the ones we were told to stay away from. Higher up said they had immunity. Untouchable, they called them." The video cut abruptly after the investigator leaned forward, staring directly into the camera, and said, "If they're finally releasing those names, then someone powerful has turned on them, and that means things are about to get ugly." And things did get ugly, fast. Reporters ambushed Snoop outside a restaurant. He didn't smile, didn't joke, didn't throw up a peace sign. Instead, he looked shaken, tense, eyes darting around like he expected someone to jump out from behind the cameras. When asked about the documents, he said nothing, not a word, just got into his car and sped away. That clip alone sent the internet into a frenzy of speculation. But Diddy's reaction was even stranger. He canceled multiple appearances. His team issued a vague statement about addressing ongoing challenges, and in the middle of the night, a drone video surfaced showing several black SUVs leaving one of his properties in a hurry. No announcement, no explanation, just secrecy and shadows. Meanwhile, a former producer who once worked with Tupac posted a cryptic message on X. He warned us. He told us who to watch. Nobody listened. It was deleted within minutes, but not before millions screenshotted it and demanded the producer reveal what Tupac had said all those years ago. Then came the most devastating leak of all, a supposed transcript from a sealed witness interview. The identity of the witness was blacked out. The details of the meeting were heavily redacted, but one section was fully visible, in bold, underlined, impossible to deny. On the night of the incident, I received information suggesting the involvement of individuals with direct ties to both Snoop Dogg and Sean Diddy Combs. I was warned not to report this. I was told it would end careers and start wars. I feared for my life. The internet erupted, and the witness statement didn't end there. I saw conversations. I heard threats. I witnessed meetings. This wasn't random. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was planned. The clip of the transcript spread like wildfire, becoming the most viral image of the year in under 16 hours. Fans cried. Industry insiders panicked. Radio hosts went off script. It felt like the skeleton of hip-hop history was being dragged out in daylight piece by piece. But the real twist didn't come from the leaked statements or the panicked reactions. It came from a blurred photograph released by an anonymous account claiming to have more evidence coming soon. The image showed a confidential envelope stamped with a seal that looked like it belonged to an elite federal task force, written across the front in bold black marker. Confidential interrogation notes. Subjects: Dogg, Combs. The world froze. Because if interrogation notes existed, it meant they weren't just suspects on paper. They had been questioned, and someone somewhere had the tapes. The second that blurred photograph hit the internet, the entire world seemed to inhale at the same time. People weren't just refreshing their feeds. They were gripping their phones like they were waiting for a bomb to detonate. Because if interrogation notes existed, that meant the authorities had known far more than they ever admitted. It meant this wasn't just speculation. It wasn't rumor. It wasn't internet fantasy or conspiracy chatter. It meant questions had been asked behind locked doors. It meant someone with power had once sat across from Snoop Dogg and Diddy and demanded answers about Tupac's death. And suddenly, the silence surrounding the case for nearly 30 years felt less like unsolved mystery and more like deliberate containment. Within hours, another leak surfaced. A voice recording uploaded anonymously, disguised under layers of distortion, but not distorted enough to hide the tension in every word. A man with a heavy accent whispered, "You don't understand how dangerous this release is. If people find out what was said in those rooms, careers won't be the only things destroyed." He paused. Lives will. That clip alone threw gasoline on the wildfire already raging, but then he added something that sent shockwaves through every corner of the internet. They weren't honest during questioning, not even close. The room temperature dropped across the world because that implied deception, strategy, hidden truths, and more importantly, it hinted that investigators had known the suspects weren't telling the full story and allowed them to walk away anyway. Fans demanded answers, journalists begged for statements, lawyers frantically posted denials. But in the middle of the chaos, another explosive leak appeared that made everything before it feel tiny. A photo of a handwritten note allegedly found inside the sealed case file. 6 words. Pac knew who was coming for him. That was the moment the internet screamed. People dug up old interviews from Tupac's final months, moments where he hinted at betrayal, at snakes in the grass, at people smiling in his face while plotting behind his back. One clip resurfaced of him saying, "You'll see who's real, you'll see who switches." At the time, fans had brushed it off as general paranoia fueled by industry pressure. But with the new leaks swirling, that statement suddenly hit like prophecy, and then another detail surfaced. The newly leaked witness interviews weren't random. They referenced specific locations, a recording studio in Los Angeles, a hotel lounge in New York, a private home in Calabasas. People mapped out the dates, cross-checked photos, tracked the movements of Snoop Diddy and Tupac in the weeks before the shooting. And the timelines didn't just align, they overlapped in ways that raised terrifying questions. At least 3 meetings had taken place that fans had never known about, and all 3 were marked high-risk interactions in the leaked files. That phrasing alone sent shockwaves across every platform. What made them high risk? What was said? Why were they documented? Why were they hidden? And how deep did the cover-up go to keep those notes locked away for decades? Internet detectives got to work, connecting dots no one had dared connect publicly before. They found archive footage of Diddy and Tupac appearing at the same party only 2 weeks before the shooting. They found a backstage clip of Snoop whispering to someone, looking over his shoulder, lifting his hand to cover his mouth. They found an interview where a producer mentioned a bad energy in the room, like everybody knew something was about to go down. But the next leak was the one that truly broke the internet. A video, grainy, black and white, timestamped the night of Tupac's death. It showed 2 men standing in a dimly lit hallway, arguing in hushed, frantic voices. The audio was muffled, the faces blurred, but one voice sounded dangerously close to someone the world recognized. He said, "They're saying he's out of control. They're saying he won't play ball." The second man responded, "Then fix it. Do whatever you have to do." The video cut off right as footsteps echoed from down the corridor. Fans immediately flocked to audio comparison programs. Some claimed to hear Snoop's voice. Others swore it was Diddy. Others insisted it was someone else entirely, someone not yet named in the documents. But the debate didn't matter. What mattered was the tone, the tension, the unmistakable desperation. 2 men discussing a problem named Tupac. As the world argued, another anonymous message dropped, this one claiming to be from someone who had been inside one of the interrogation sessions. The one thing they all had in common, the message read, was fear. Not fear of being arrested, fear of someone above them. That single line set off an entirely new wave of conspiracy, because if Snoop and Diddy weren't the top of the ladder, if they were pawns, participants, or pressured into involvement, then who was pulling the strings? And the files hinted at unidentified executives, private interests, unregistered consultants, words that didn't point to artists or managers, but to shadowy figures with far deeper pockets and far more influence. Suddenly, nobody knew where the truth ended and the fear began. And then, another voice recording surfaced. This one clearer, louder, less distorted. A voice that fans immediately recognized as belonging to a well-known West Coast rapper from the 90s who had remained silent about the case for years. He said, "Listen man, everybody knew Pac wasn't safe. Everybody knew someone had it out for him and people were talking. Deals were being made, promises were being offered. And the moment Pac started talking about leaving the label, about independence, about exposing things, that's when phones started ringing. That's when certain people got nervous." He paused. You could hear him exhale shakily. "I was told to keep my distance. I was told things were going to get messy, but I didn't think they'd drag Snoop into it. And Diddy, he wasn't exactly innocent back then, but naming them officially? If that's happening, someone big just flipped." That statement alone was gasoline, but another leak followed seconds later. An email dated years ago from a retired detective who wrote, "We were instructed to back off certain leads, told they were dead ends, but they weren't. We knew they weren't." The detective added one heartbreaking line, "He deserved justice. We weren't allowed to give it." The internet erupted into tears, rage, disbelief. Fans demanded accountability. Musicians posted cryptic messages. Former associates of Tupac spoke out, some defending Snoop and Diddy, others hinting that the industry wasn't as innocent as it appeared. Then something even darker happened. A major entertainment law firm filed an emergency injunction attempting to block the spread of the newly leaked files. The filing mentioned reputational damage, irreparable harm, and ongoing investigations that could be compromised. That confirmed it. There was more, much more, and someone, somewhere, was trying to stop it from getting out, but they were too late. Because before the injunction could take effect, one final anonymous post appeared. A scanned page. A page from what appeared to be the actual interrogation notes. Underlined in red. Subject became visibly nervous when asked about his last conversation with Tupac Shakur. Below it, scribbled hastily, "He knows more." The internet had no time to process the interrogation notes before the next shockwave hit. A former associate of Tupac, someone who had remained completely silent for nearly 30 years, broke anonymity and released a voicemail recording allegedly left on their phone the night before Tupac was shot. The voice on the message was shaking, nervous, full of urgency. "They're moving tonight," the caller whispered. "They said I shouldn't tell anyone. They said it'll ruin everything. Watch your back, and whatever happens, don't trust the one smiling at you." The message ended with a single name being spoken under the caller's breath. Fans enhanced it, slowed it down, boosted the pitch, did everything possible to decipher it, but the audio was damaged, warped, intentionally cut. All anyone could make out was the first syllable. It sounded like sent. That was enough to send the world spiraling, but the chaos didn't stop there. Within hours, another forged-looking but disturbingly credible document leaked. This one was stamped with a federal seal entitled Incident Reconstruction High Priority Subjects. Underneath it was a flowchart outlining potential motives, and right there, connected by lines, arrows, and redacted blocks, were two names that shouldn't have been anywhere near that chart: Snoop Dogg and Sean Combs. Under each name were bullet points. Some were visible, some were scratched out, but three words under Diddy's section were perfectly clear: financial, personal, preventative. People interpreted each word like prophecy. Financial, because Tupac's shift toward independence threatened labels, deals, and entire corporate structures. Personal, because betrayal within the circle always ran deeper than business. Preventative, because stopping Pac wasn't retaliation, it was strategy. Fans began saying out loud what had long been whispered in private circles. Tupac wasn't killed because of beef. He wasn't killed because of a random street altercation. He wasn't killed because of a moment of anger. He was removed because he was becoming uncontrollable, because he was planning something massive, because he knew too much. The next leak proved that theory wasn't just speculation. A former label employee anonymously released a handwritten memo allegedly from the weeks before the shooting. Barely legible, but readable enough to make millions stomachs drop. Pac intends to reveal everything. He's talking to people he shouldn't. If he goes public, we lose control. The memo didn't specify what everything meant, but paired with the timeline, paired with the desperation in those secret meetings, paired with the panicked texts, paired with the interrogation notes, it painted a horrifying picture. Tupac wasn't just a target, he was a threat, one powerful enough to terrify the most influential people in the industry. More evidence surfaced. A leaked photograph taken just days before the shooting. Tupac at a studio, sitting across from someone whose face had been carefully blurred in the original release. But the newly leaked version, clearly stolen from a private archive, showed the unblurred face. Diddy. The comments exploded like dynamite. Fans demanded to know why that image had been hidden for nearly 3 decades, why it wasn't included in any public documentary, interview special, or official timeline, why it was scrubbed so effectively that even hardcore historians of the case had never seen it. And if that meeting happened, what did they talk about? Was it a warning, a negotiation, a threat? While the world drowned in theories, someone claiming to be a former security contractor dropped another bombshell, a written account of a secret meeting held 3 days after Tupac's death. The document described a dimly lit room, a small circle of executives, and one crucial line spoken by a man whose name was fully redacted. We cannot let the investigation proceed toward those 2 individuals. It will start a war no one can win. The document didn't need names. The entire world already knew who those 2 individuals were. And then, just when everyone thought the scandal had reached maximum velocity, another voice recording leaked. This one shakier, older, more damaged, but unmistakably real. A man speaking with regret whispered, "They told me to lie. They told me to say I didn't see who got into the car after the shots. But I did. I saw everything. And I'll take this to my grave if I have to. They warned me what would happen if I talked." He inhaled, voice trembling. Pac wasn't alone. Someone followed the car, someone important. The internet froze. Because if Tupac had been followed that night, that meant someone was orchestrating the events from the shadows. Someone had eyes on him even after the shooting. Someone didn't want him surviving long enough to testify. Suddenly, another leak dropped, a still image from a long-suppressed surveillance tape. The footage was filmed just minutes before the shooting. In the background, blurred but visible enough for identification, was a tall silhouette wearing a distinctive chain, a chain that fans instantly recognized, a chain Snoop wore in multiple photos from that exact era. The argument exploded into chaos. Some insisted the image was manipulated, others claimed it matched Snoop's posture, height, and jewelry. But the internet didn't get time to breathe, because seconds later, someone leaked what they claimed was the missing portion of that tape. Audio of a man angrily whispering, "He shouldn't be here. Get him out now." If Pac sees him, the audio cut before finishing the sentence. Fans replayed it thousands of times. Arguments erupted. Theories formed faster than anyone could track. But the shadows only deepened when a journalist revealed she had been working on a story about powerful individuals connected to the case, and that her interview request had been blocked by high-level legal interference. Then she said something that chilled everyone watching her live stream. They're trying to stop a bigger truth from coming out. It's not just who was involved, it's who ordered it. Her stream cut out moments later, but the final leak of the night was the one that shattered reality. A scanned page from what appeared to be an internal memo written after the original interrogations. The page contained a short summary. Only 2 lines were unredacted. Subject Combs exhibited signs of evasion when asked about direct communications with Shakur prior to the incident. And below that, Subject Dogg appeared visibly distressed when confronted with information contradicting his previous statements. But the handwritten note at the bottom was what sent shockwaves through the world. A single sentence circled 3 times in red ink. The 2 stories do not match. The internet lost its collective mind, because if the 2 men told conflicting stories, if their alibis didn't align, if the interrogators documented the inconsistencies, then the question wasn't whether Snoop or Diddy were involved. The real question was, why did they lie? And who were they protecting? That's when the final anonymous post appeared. Just 5 words that stopped the entire world cold. You don't know the real target. If you're still watching right now, then you already know you've just stepped into a story bigger, darker, and more dangerous than anything Hollywood has ever dared to whisper. The leaks we uncovered tonight weren't meant to surface. The names weren't meant to be spoken. And the truth we're circling is the kind of truth people have tried to bury for nearly 3 decades. You felt the tension. You saw the cracks. You heard the contradictions. These aren't coincidences. These aren't rumors. This is a conspiracy unraveling in real time, and the people tied to it are powerful enough to shut down stories, erase footage, block investigations, and rewrite entire legacies at will. But not this time. Not if you stay here. Not if you keep this story alive, because the next leak could drop any minute. The next insider could flip. The next suppressed document could hit the surface without warning. And when it does, you don't want to be the last person to know. You don't want to hear it secondhand. You want to be right here when the truth finally explodes into the open. So do not leave without hitting like. Do not disappear without dropping a comment. Your engagement forces this investigation into every algorithm they can't control. And make sure you subscribe right now, because the next chapter of this story is coming, and it's going to be even more dangerous, more explosive, and more revealing than anything you've heard tonight. Stay locked in, stay alert, stay ready. The truth is coming.